It's about the beef with Nas and Cormega. Now, everybody gonna say they know the whole story, and they probably do. But there's a lot of people out here that know the half. Like, this beef was hot. And it just goes to show you how words on records and it leads to stuff getting real on the streets. Now, started from the beginning. Mega comes out of jail. He comes home. He sees Nas. Nas got the Lexus. And for the other guy who thought that Jay-Z was dissing Nas, and he talking about like Nas is dissing Jay-Z because he talking about Lex with the TV sets is the minimum. Nas had a Lexus that he copped with a TV set in it. He had a TV set put in it, but he copped the Lexus out the Illmatic. And he had the Lexus when he picked up Cormega. And he was riding around in it. It ended up getting repoed because he wasn't making the payments. But he had a Lexus, picked him up, gave Mega like $100, took him over to riding him around the bridge, then playing the songs for him on the radio. And then he dropped him off at the crib and told him they was going to hang out later and all that. Then, after the second album getting ready to drop and take off, and Nas is the biggest thing on earth, all of a sudden, Steve Stout's in the picture and they getting ready to come out with the Firm. And they finna do the Firm album. And Mega's in the Firm. And you got AZ, Fox. Everybody's ready to ride. And Mega trying to get him a deal. Because he got all this buzz based off Nas. And they was, oh man, Mega's cold, Mega's this. So Nas basically brokered the deal with Def Jam. Basically, Mega got the deal on his own, but they wouldn't have been interested in Mega if it wasn't because of Nas. So Def Jam was like, Russell Simmons is like, okay, well, we're going to get Nas's guy, Cormega, and we'll have Nas on these tracks too. Because Nas was, at this time, was the hottest artist out. Next to probably Tupac, he was the highest selling artist next to him, besides Fuji. It's like Fuji's, Lauryn Hill, basically with the Fugees, Pac, and then Nas. They were the three top selling single artists at that time. Big was taking a hiatus and just doing remixes. He wasn't really putting out any albums, and Lil' Kim put out an album because he was writing it, but he was doing other things. And he was getting ready on his big comeback. But at this time, they getting ready to drop the Firm album. And then when he get his deal and they give him his little signing bonus, Chris, what's his name? Steve Stout was like, oh, you just did a deal with Def Jam? He was like, yeah, you ain't cut us in on no money. He was like, why would I cut you in on somebody? You ain't did anything. Wow, like what was that? He's like, if Nas wanted anything out of the deal, Nas could have asked me and I would have paid him anything out of the deal, because I basically got the deal based off Nas' name. But Chris Lightley is upset because he didn't get a piece of the money and he did nothing to help broker the deal. So Mega's like, I'm not finna give you no money, you ain't did nothing for me. So next thing you know, he's kicked out the group. He show up for one of the session. They was like, man, you gotta leave. He kicked out the group, and then Nas was with it, but he didn't tell Mega. And Mega's like, hey, what's going on? How am I kicked out the group? Nobody talking to me? Nothing. And just out of nowhere, the next day they got Nature, another guy from the building. He's in the Firm now. And all of this is done 2 days before the photo shoot for the Source album. where they think Mega, they finna meet Mega, and they see this guy Nature, and then Nature's in there, and he's on the radio station talking reckless about Cormega. You know, he's talking real reckless, like, you know, like, yeah, this dude, this and that. And people didn't know Mega was a Golden Gloves boxer. Like, he had professional boxing trainer. You know, he won like three Golden Glove tournaments. I don't think he won a national, but I know he won 3 Golden Glove. And he could box. It was no joke. So he went up to Nature's house, because they stayed in the same building, and told him, look, man, we finna go up here on this hill and we gonna box like men. And he went up there and he just beat the hell out of Nature, you know, knuckled him up. And that was that. They shook hands and he was like, it's over. There ain't no need of even battling. It's over. You got out of line. You had to get popped. And that's that. But he salty at Nas now because Nas is blowing him off, not answering his calls. And he was like, man, you supposed to be my boy, my right hand man. You gonna let this guy basically kick me out the group. How he gonna kick me out the firm? You know, this Steve Stout. And you just basically rolling with it. So basically he records a whole album, right? And they never release it on Def Jam. It's like they were sabotaging his album. They wouldn't even put his single out. It was like, well, we gotta have a single out, and Nas isn't on the album. And he was like, dude, this not Nas's album. You paid to have Cormega on there. You was spending all this money, you know, on the record. Why won't you just let it go? You know, it just didn't make sense for them to keep holding the album hostage. But they wanted to, it eventually ended up shelving the project. And that just pissed a lot of people off, because a lot of people had work on there, like Prodigy. I mean, Prodigy was on there. He had Havoc doing a couple of tracks. He had tracks and promotions from like everybody from Queensbridge. Like everybody who produced on Nas records basically was producing for Mega on this record. And it was like, what could Mega be saying that was garbage that they wouldn't even want to release the album? A lot of people didn't even know about the beef, so a lot of people would have bought the record just off the strength that he was connected with Nas. It was clearly people was in power was using a position to sabotage Mega. So Mega felt some kind of way, and then all of a sudden you hear all these diss records on Nas. Basically, he just did about 5 diss records on Nas, talking about him using all the beats that was on I Am, and was just going off on him, talking about him. And Nas take all this to heart, you know what I'm saying? So if you listen to the I Am album, it's a bunch of responses to what was going on, and that's what triggered Mega to make these songs. It's a lot of this Hate Me Now. He's talking about Mega, because the Mega album was the illest. I mean the realest, so he came out with the illest. Trying to act like you the realest, well, who the illest? I think we all know the answer to that, because people feel us, right? You know, and he's talking about Cormega. You can hate me now. And the song Big Things, he's talking about Cormega. We on the same team. You don't want to pass the ball, you chucking, gunning for dough. You want to blow so fast, now do it yourself. Cross me is like shooting yourself. You ain't shit now. Where you shit now? If you so ill, why your shit never came out? He's talking about Cormega. So when Mega made these songs, he was coming back in response to what Nas had did. But nobody knew Nas, who he was talking about on that album. Basically, they were just bobbing their head to the songs. So when Mega came out, he looked crazy, because it's like, dude, why are you attacking Nas like this? So he looked like the bad guy. when he was really responding to what was going on. And like he was telling Nas, okay, you so ill, then let's battle for money, Mr. Big Time. You know, he was really just coming at Nas from a street perspective, like, dude, I'm really street, and I do this, and I'm nice on the mic, so let's go. And Nas would never give him like the time of day the way he would mention his name. So the QB album is coming out. Nas is getting ready to do the Queensbridge album. And everybody from Queensbridge is like getting together. Like Nature and Mega, they cool now. And Tragedy Gaddafi's on there, and everything's going good, you know, like it's going really, really good. Everybody's cool and cordial. Then, you know, he was like, nah, Mega ain't gonna be on the album. Well, we can't do a Queensbridge album without Mega on it. And I was just like, man, I don't know. So Tragedy's like, nah, dude, we can't do that. You know, that ain't gonna be right if we don't have Mega on there. You know, that's gonna be the story. So they talked to Mega, Nas and them, and he saw that Mega was in another place mentally, like, dude, I'm grown now. You know, we don't need to go this route. Let's go ahead and part this like men, and let's move forward. So now for the video shoot, Nas go and rents all this jewelry, this expensive jewelry. He got this jeweler in there so that everybody can have some peace on, some ice, while they represent, you know, QB in the video. So you see all these rappers out here with ice on that's borrowed from the jewelry store. So at the end of the shoot, you know, Nas is getting back all the jewelry. Then he was like, man, tell your man's over there, like, to tell Mega. He's like, I think Mega he ain't turning his jewelry. And then the guy came to Mega like, man, you know, Nas is asking for the jewelry. He's like, man, I don't have it. Like, I've been turned it in. He was like, man, so the guy came and asked, he was like, dude, don't come ask me no more. If dude want to come ask me, he's standing right there, he can come over and ask me. He ain't got to keep sending you over here. Now, don't ask me no more. And so Mega was pissed that they keep asking him, like, man, you know, like, man, come on, man, you got to give up that jewelry. And he's like, man, he's like, so I'm getting in the car. And Mega is like really pissed at this point. And so when they driving off, Mega sticks his head out the window and said, oh yeah, and for the record, you can suck my dick, bitch, to Nas. And we all know, now that line is famous because after that, Nas, when he made that record, he included that line in the record. Because Mega did an interview after that video shoot talking about how, you know, like, basically he was saying, like, I'm like Nino Brown and the, you know, like, don't nothing move without me, and I'm like the man in that. He was real arrogant and feeling himself in that interview. He was really feeling himself. So when Nas came out with the record Destroy and Rebuild, and he wanted to just crush the whole thing he read in the interview, because he basically was, Nas is this, Nas is that, and he just had to address Mega. And that's what he was like, man, stay out the magazines, keep my name out your mouth. And that's why he used the line, Mega, for the record, you could suck. That's what he had told Nas. So it all made sense when Nas like, man, just stay out of the magazines, and you talking like you a gangster, like you Nino Brown of the hood. And it was funny because it was in the magazines where he was doing his interviews. So when that was done, Mega just went insane with diss records, because people was like, man, you got snuffed by Nas. But Nas didn't stop there. Nas tried to do what Jay-Z did to him. Nas went and tried to get he actually got Cormega's girl's phone number because 50 was trying to get in. 50 was cool with Nas because he put him on the Nostradamus tour and was going to make him one of the Bravehearts. So that's what his whole thing was at the time. Like, man, I'm going to be a Braveheart. So he was just running behind Nas, doing anything he could. And Mega Girl stayed in Queens, and 50 knew her. So he was like, man, give me the number. Give me old girl number. So Nas went and got the number, and he was going to try to call Cormega's girl. And like, yo, you finna hook up with me. But she just blew Nas off like he a goofy. I ain't doing that. Like, she wasn't going. And that was another thing that came up that made Mega go insane. So Nas started attaching himself to other people from QB who was getting out of jail, like Lake and all these other people. This dude Lord and Lake from QB, and they was like, man, look, we finna get this paper. He showed Lake how to get this money and set up his record company so he can get some bread coming in. But he wanted to get some protection, basically, for Mega, because Mega was hot. So that's why Nas was hanging around these hoods from QB, basically for protection at this time, because it was getting hot. And he was getting into some real niche. So after all of this had unfolded and this had happened, Mega had an album coming out. Well, not an album, but a couple of songs with Capone-N-Noreaga. And then he was in the video shoot. So Nas called Nori, because Nori got cool with Nas, and they end up becoming boys and started doing songs together. So he told him, like, man, like, I ain't gonna deal with y'all no more if y'all got Mega in the video, man. I understand he on the album, but I don't you gotta cut Mega out the video. So they end up cutting Mega out of Cormega off the video. They cut his whole part and everything. He was cut out of the video. And when that happened, that's when Mega's like, I can't deal with Nori no more. Because Nori was like, Nas was his guy. Nas was going to help him get to the top. And he wanted to get to the top. So he's going to listen to anything Nas said. That's just how he rolled. And not a lot of people like Nori lyrically. They just was like, he alright. He ain't nothing I listen to. Like, that's how they treated Nori. So, with him being close with Nas and Nas feeling him, it gave him credibility. Like, man, look, Nas feeling me and getting on my joint, so I must be something. So they was like, oh, okay, alright. And ever since then, man, Mega just like, look, me going back and forth with Nas on some lyrical thing is one thing, but you trying to stop me from eating, that's a whole nother thing. But as the years went on, Mega just said, you know what, I'm just going to work on my craft, because every project he's coming out with independently was making money. People didn't realize that he was one of the first mixtape artists to really make money. Like, a lot of money being independent. Cormega made a lot of money off his independent records because he was selling them basically in the hood and was killing, selling 200,000, 300,000 independent on his own. So he didn't really need the majors because his name was already known just from the association with Nas and everybody else. But his problem was, he do an interview, everybody want him to diss Nas. He do this, what's up with Nas? And he's like, dude, I'm not even mentioning this guy on this album. So he's like, I'm not giving him no more attention. So they're all like, oh, that's over. But people want to hear, okay, so what you got for Nas? I know you throwing some shots at Nas. What that's about, Nas? And that's not even what he on. So then he realized that, okay, I'm not, even though we ain't like cool, I got no problems with dude. You know, let him do his thing. You know, we grown. We grown men. We got other things to do, and more things is more important. And I want to be known for my work than just known for dissing Nas. Because he's like, I'm not even talking about that man, and yet and still people bringing up questions about me, and he's like, he's not talking about me, and he's like, and what's crazy is when people interview him, they don't be like, hey, what's up with Nas? I mean, what's up with Cormega? But when they interview Cormega, they bring up, yo, what's up with Nas? And it just, to me, minimizes his work and his worth. So right now, everybody's cool. But that was out of hand for a minute. Next, I'll explain to y'all the Prodigy Jay-Z. Because a lot of people ask me about Mobb Deep and Jay-Z. How they even got involved. And we'll go there.